the state's first documented autopsy took place right here in the hospital at Fort Churchill, and this was the site of Nevada's earliest recorded weather observations. And since 1962, Fort Churchill has been recognized as a National Historic Landmark. Fort Churchill has a really rich and complex history that's rooted in conflict between two cultural groups, the Northern Paiute Indians and European American immigrants whose lives intersected right here in Nevada's Great Basin Desert and who struggled to live and work alongside one another for many, many years. That conflict began in earnest following the discovery of gold in California in 1848, and it intensified following the discovery of silver ore in Virginia City, Nevada in 1859. In the years following those two discoveries of gold and silver, more than 250,000 European American immigrants made their way through and into Nevada's Great Basin Desert, leading to rapid and unprecedented changes in the historic lifeways of the Northern Paiute Indians and their relationship to the land. Now, eventually, after more than a decade of increasing tension, this conflict reached a flashpoint, and it culminated in the Pyramid Lake, or the Paiute War, in the spring of 1860, which was a series of two battles fought between the Northern Paiute Indians and joint U.S. Army and local militia forces. And those two battles weren't fought on the ground where we're standing today. They were fought closer to Pyramid Lake, just south of present-day Nixon, Nevada. And immediately after those two battles, the U.S. Army set about establishing Fort Churchill, and its primary purpose was protection. It was protecting the European American immigrants moving into the region in large numbers, and they were protecting all of the transportation and communication corridors, and I should add, the vital transportation and communication corridors traveling through this region. And you can see all of this history unfolding here at Fort Churchill. If you look to the north, which is my left, your right, just past that wonderful and surprising cluster of cars, we were not expecting this many people today, you'll notice a fence line, a low fence line. On the other side of that fence is Fort Churchill Road, and you drove that road to get here today. But that was the transportation and communication corridor through this area. So if you were a visitor here in the 1850s, 1860s, you would have counted dozens of wagons rolling through this valley every single day. You would have heard the creaking and groaning of those heavy wooden wagons as they were pulled by mules, oxen, or maybe even horses. That would also become the route of the area's earliest forms of communication, including the Pony Express and the telegraph. So again, in addition to those wagons, you would have heard the thundering hoofs of Pony Express riders as they approached Fort Churchill. You would have seen the clouds of dust in their wake, and you would have seen all of the infrastructure supporting the telegraph, wooden poles with wires stretched between them. All of that was happening right here, which is partly why Fort Churchill was established at this critical crossroads. So with those images fresh in your mind, I'm going to hand it back to Ron, who's going to talk a little bit more about the Pony Express.
I don't want to.